I've been asked to give my message to veterans. I'm not a veteran myself. I worked for the Department of the Navy and the Marine Corps, and I got to know veterans and love them. I can never fully understand going through combat. I have about 400 books of combat memoirs.
Welcome to the Combat Vet Transition Journey podcast. Pat Frager here. Every combat vet suffers from physical and emotional challenges. I find that transition is a lifelong journey. As they say, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Today we're privileged to be with Harris at his military museum in Vista.
Excited to have you guys down at the museum. It's all about honoring veterans, and Pat, I sure appreciate your service in the Vietnam War.
As a matter of fact, it brings back memories, sometimes flashbacks of being in here. I knew Carlos Hathcock, old White Feather, and it's interesting what he did for snipers. I recall he was using a 50 caliber machine gun as a sniper rifle the first time that weapon was used, and he was aiming on people at the Ho Chi Minh Trail. That's just a little military tidbit. I'm sure you have many more that you'll share with Joe.
Hey, welcome to my little museum. I call it the Cactus Militaria Mini Museum. Come on in. It's to honor the veterans that served and won us our freedom. Check out the mini museum here.
Wow, man, this is a museum through this door?
Exactly.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
tucked away. This is my little anteroom. Mostly Vietnam and Gulf War stuff with a little bit of Korea sprinkled in. There's a lot of stuff packed in here. Just go through some of the highlights. This here is Al Schutz's Korean War herringbone dungaree.
Okay.
Al Smith was one of the chosen few. He did the Battle of Chosin Reservoir, where 15,000 Marines stood off 120,000 Chinese soldiers. Al actually got his picture taken in the controlled withdrawal, and he was on the 1952 cover of Life magazine. This is his reunion magazine from the Chosin Reservoir Veterans Association in one of their reunions in 1992.
He looks hard back in the day, man. That's definitely
That was freezing cold back there. There was some hard men.
Wow.
Yeah. Over here, we've got the famous Carlos Hathcock, the Marine Corps sniper from Vietnam. They called him White Feather. He wore this style boonie with a white feather in it just to dish his adversaries. Come and get me. They never did get him, and he made the most famous sniper shot in history, 1,000 yards through the NVA sniper scope right into his eyeball.
Good heavens.
He used this style of sniper rifle, a Winchester Model 70. This isn't one of the Marine Corps ones, it's just the type. Marine Corps didn't have a dedicated sniper rifle in Vietnam, so they bought Winchester hunting rifles. Of course, his had the big, long 8-power Unertal scope. I am trying to buy one of those right now to put on this rifle.
A lot of stuff in here, man. This is amazing. I can only imagine the historical
Something probably familiar to you.
Oh, yeah,
The Gulf War Kevlar helmet.
Yeah, Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
This is my brother Richard's Vietnam era Army helmet. He was in the Chaplain's Corps in the Army during Vietnam. And this is the Marine Corps Vietnam helmet with the Mitchell style camo.
I actually remember that camouflage pattern when I went to boot camp in ICT, Infantry Training School.
Yes.
That was the initial cover we had on our chrome domes at the time.
Nice. Yeah, that was they changed from the frog skin of World War II to this Mitchell pattern for the jungle. This is my collection of Marine Corps boonies.
Okay.
This is Korea. This was the first Vietnam boonie. They determined it was too bright green, so then they went to the forest camo.
Okay.
First Gulf War chocolate chip. Second Gulf War and the two new digis, the green digi and the desert digi.
I can remember wearing all 5 of those
Wow.
in my tour of duty in the Marine Corps. So it's
Amazing.
extraordinary that you
Yeah.
have this decorative uniform.
Early Gulf War Kevlar vest. Before they had the desert camo, they wore this. And yeah. All of these belong to Colonel Harry Williams when he retired. When he retired, did artillery in Vietnam. When he retired, he donated all of this to the museum.
That's the Alice pack. The Alice all lightweight and individually carrying equipment pack.
Yeah,
We issued that also.
Wow. Yeah, that was Colonel Williams' personal pack,
Nice.
and that was his cummerbund pack there.
Okay.
Gulf War Camelback hydration pack you probably saw.
I saw that exactly. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. These were used World War II through Vietnam. These pith helmets, mainly for base duty.
Okay.
MPs wore them and other things. And of course, you know.
The campaign cover, the infamous.
Yeah.
campaign
The
cover.
infamous DI cover.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like I was underrepresented with women, so I got this. This is a Vietnam era woman's dinner whites. And these whites, look at the beautiful silver and gold
The
EGA.
officers, right? Those are
Yeah,
officers'
she
medals.
was a warrant officer, and her name was Lillian Bell. She started out as an NCO, and they made her a warrant officer. And this is her husband, Gunny Sergeant Bell, pinning her warrant officer's pin.
Nice.
Notice the shit-eating grin on his face?
See it.
He knows now that she outranks him. He's in a world of trouble when he gets home.
Right. Awesome.
Here's the Montregard crossbow from the Highland people of Vietnam. This is made out of Indonesian rosewood. Look at the craftsmanship on it, all carved.
It's like some heavy duty wood too.
Yeah, water buffalo horn trigger and bamboo spring. And that's their bolts. They're made out of bamboo that they shot. They use these to creep up and silently assassinate Viet Cong and NVA in the middle of the night. They never even knew what hit them.
Looks lethal. Can I see the tip of one of those?
It's flame-hardened bamboo is all it is.
And they probably
But
put some
it
something
went
in it.
through a man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it did the job, and it did it silently. They were very favored scouts to our guys.
Oh my goodness. Look at
Yeah, the pull is immense on this.
It is.
Yeah, don't even know how they used it, but that's a GI bring back from Vietnam. A Marine brought that back. This is an interesting piece that came back from Vietnam. This is a field-made Viet Cong fighting knife that was handmade by some Viet Cong fighter.
Weapons of warfare, man. You got them right here. Look at that.
That's the dog tags of the Marine that brought this back after he liberated it from that Viet Cong.
You did the duty.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's the Russian AK-47 bayonet that would have been used by NVA on their AKs in the Vietnam War. The Russians were very frugal. This bayonet actually clipped together, and then this became a wire cutter, clipping barbed wire.
Innovative.
Yeah, Russians were very innovative people. And at the time we were giving them millions of dollars a year in foreign aid, they were supplying weapons to the Viet Cong and the NVA. One of the tragedies of the war. So yeah.
So you have a Campbell Opera there?
Yeah, that's the, I use that in my Sunday school class. That's from the old Solomon's Temple. It's a model of the menorah that would have been in Solomon's Temple.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been teaching Bible to kids for about 26 years now.
This is extraordinary. I mean, I was impressed when I came through to see all this behind this closed door, this one door.
People found out I had this World War II, so I got into this. But
Glass
this
door
was
here,
yeah,
man.
it's
Neat.
It's a real Marine Corps door off of Camp Pendleton. I worked for 5 years at Camp Pendleton base maintenance, and that came off of one of the old World War II barracks buildings. Officer of the Day door. They replaced it, and they were going to throw that away, so I snagged it, and I thought, wow, that's a perfect door for my little mini museum.
Wow.
In World War II, the moms used to fly these in their windows. This is the Blue Star mom had a son in the war. Sometimes these had 3 or 4. The Gold Star meant that they lost a son in the war. Yeah, that's hand sewn.
Wow. Oh my goodness, man! You have so much. Look at this. Wow. You have British, Japanese, German, even from the Third Reich.
The Third Reich. Wow. Yeah, I had to have them represented. Yeah,
It was like an authentic Nazi flag.
That's the real thing. That is not a reproduction. That was donated to the museum too. A British man got a hold of it. He didn't know what to do with it, and his son told him, I had this museum, and he said, it needs to go there. I don't want it to fall in the hands of a neo-Nazi.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah. There's an old adage in World War II. The Germans fought for honor, the British fought for the king, Americans fought for souvenirs. This was the #1 souvenir that every GI in the European theater of operations wanted to get their hands on. This is a real German P08 Luger.
Wow.
It's dated 1940, 4-digit date. Code 37 means it was made by the Mauser Works.
Oh, my goodness.
It's in mint condition. You can see how good the walnut handles are in, but yeah, that was a GI bring back.
There's some actual emblems too, and the armbands.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is the actual. Germans were so anal about serial numbers, even their armband had a serial number on it.
Good night.
Everything. World War I, German helmet. World War II, German helmet. World War II, German civil defense. This is what the German army marched on. This was actually came from a archaeological dig in central Germany of a Nazi army camp. This is a bottle of schnapps.
Well, we had Red Bull in Iraq.
Yeah,
So they had
that's their Red Bull.
Nice.
Yeah, complete German enlisted man's combat belt.
Wow. Weapons of warfare. For
Yeah,
sure.
the Mauser cartridge belt. This is their Mauser they carried.
Looks lethal.
This is the K98 Mauser, one of the most accurate weapons in World War II. This is the Japanese Arisaka rifle, and our M1 Garand, of course. Our troops were the only troops that fielded a semi-automatic rifle. These guys had to throw a bolt every shot. General Patton, right there, said that this was the most amazing implement of battle ever devised and won the war for us. Every one of our guys could shoot 8 shots out of these stripper clips.
Wow. 8 shots.
Eight 30-06 went down in there, and when the last one went, this came out, and they put a new one in. Yeah, this is the cartridge belt that they were carried in. Most of the time, they worked out of these resupply bandoliers.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
They would put these on and pin them. This one still has the black World War II safety pin in it. Nice thing about this one, it still has the empty boxes with the stripper clip in it.
Nice.
Lake City Ammunition Depot, Lake City, New Jersey. Here's a 30-06 Lake City Ammunition Plant,
Wow.
New Jersey.
Look at it.
Never been opened.
Wow.
You can look this up by the serial number that's on it and tell exactly when it's made. My nephew did that for me. I have it written down somewhere.
I see the little ammunition rounds there right there. This is a
Yeah.
25 mic round for the.
Yeah. 40 millimeter.
Okay.
Yeah. Pom-pom guns on the anti-aircraft. 20 millimeter aircraft cannon. That's what German fighter planes fired. And of course our 50 caliber.
Exactly.
That's what our planes fired. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This is the Jeep scabbard for your M1 rifle. It's like a saddle scabbard, only it was on the Jeep. Yeah.
Old Jeeps. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you have some stuff over here. I see some CB stuff over here, Navy.
I had two uncles that were Seabees in the Pacific Theater in World War II. So yeah, there's their CB patch.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Seabees had complete machine shops. So after they secured the island, they sat around and made souvenirs. This is made out of an old Craig Jorgensen bayonet. This CB cut it down. He filled in the bayonet lug. He took plexiglass out of a wrecked airplane canopy and put it on there
Nice.
with two ace of spades from two different decks of cards. It's dated 1900, the old Craig Jorgensen Philippine War rifle. He could have traded this to a Marine or Army guy for a bottle of whiskey. So they made these to trade with. It's a GI bring back.
That sounds like some memories when I was in the Gulf. They used to build everything.
This is the airborne paratroopers knife that they jumped with. This was strapped to their legs. Army guys didn't get issued a knife. Only the airborne and the Rangers got knives. All the Marines got a knife.
Right.
These are all World War II K-bars. Yeah. Every Marine had a knife. Not so in the Army. Towns used to have knife drives, and they would get old hunting knives, and they would donate them to a GI in the Army, so at least he'd have a knife to take with him when he went to Europe.
Nice.
Yeah, these are all three different knife drive knives.
You have some Japanese items here from.
I've got some Japanese there. That's the hardest stuff to get. They either destroyed it because they were disgraced, or it rotted in the jungle. But yeah, these three flags were captured in the Battle of Okinawa. And this is the man that brought them back, Gunny Sergeant Garcia. There's a little write-up about him in the Camp Pendleton newspaper. But yeah, his son donated those to the museum after he passed.
Sure.
There's the little thin Japanese Army helmet. Their little musette bag, their bogus little canteen with the cork stopper, and that's a Jap officer's cap. This, of course, is the famous samurai sword.
Nice.
In the Pacific, this is the thing the GIs wanted as a souvenir.
Actually, it looks very similar to the NCO sword I have. I actually have a sword that comes from Japan. Actually, it's a samurai sword that was made in Japan, which is the NCO sword. They don't make them anymore.
Wow,
I had to bring that
that's
short
very collectible, dude. Wow, amazing. This is the Japanese little sake cup with the Japanese Navy. This is what a kamikaze pilot would have taken his last drink before he went on his suicide mission. Yeah.
That's hardcore right there.
Yeah. World War II Italian helmet, British civil defense helmet, British Army helmet. They kept this pattern through the whole war. This is a World War I doughboy campaign hat. This is our World War I helmet. The guys used to paint them up at the end of the war. They got this idea from the Germans, and then they would put every battle that they were in. St. Mihiel, the Somme, Argonne Forest.
Oh, wow.
This is from the 82nd Division. That's the division that Sergeant York was in, the famous Sergeant York. And these guys became the 82nd Airborne in World War II. And this is French World War I Adrian helmet. Their little thin helmet.
Nice. You have some other items over here too. I see a lot of patches and.
I'm
too?
big on insignia. My brother, who's 12 years older than me, collected that when I was a kid, and he got me interested in patches. But yeah, that's every Army division that participated in World War II. It's every Marine Corps division that participated in World War II.
Gotcha. Wow.
All the Army Air Force different divisions. Yeah. All our Army armored divisions in World War II, of which my uncle was part of. I want to tell you the story about my uncle because he was an inspiration as a World War II veteran for me. I'll tell you that story here in a minute.
But I'm amazed by that Medal of Honor. That's amazing.
That
Medal of Honor.
yes, that is a copy that they are being made in Germany now. It is illegal for a person to buy, sell, or own a Medal of Honor unless what came in their family. I've got that to honor Joe Foss, the greatest fighter pilot in my estimation, Marine Corps fighter pilot, and he shot down 28 Zeros at Guadalcanal, and he won the Medal of Honor and the Distinguished Flying Cross. And that's a genuine pair of Navy Marine Corps gold wings. Wow. This is the 422 jacket that Navy and Marine Corps fighter pilots wore. This is the B-2 bomber jacket that our Army Air Force bomber crewmen wore. And the bomber crewmen would wear these.
It's cold up there in the air.
Yeah. It's 60 below zero in a B-17 at altitude.
Damn.
They plugged in their booties and their underwear
Good night.
in an electric outlet. Yeah.
It still wouldn't.
These are the waist gunner gloves. They stood in an open window with a 50 caliber. That's why the trigger finger is loose.
Getting some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Badass, man. Look at this shit. That's
Yeah.
like fucking,
Yeah.
like, tough line.
Yeah. If you had to take these off to clear the jam in your gun, in 2 or 3 minutes, your fingers would be frostbitten.
Yeah, so what's in this right here not to be displayed? What's going on with this?
These are more patches in my collection. I have drawers of medals.
I see.
All of these need to be. There's the French Croix de Guerre.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know.
That looks familiar too.
There's your American Purple Heart.
Wow.
And the dog tags of the guy that won it.
Wow. Somebody did many tours in Vietnam.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Four tours in Vietnam. This is an interesting. Here's your Bronze Star. Here's your Silver Star.
Right.
Here's your Navy Cross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. Good night, man.
Yeah. Here's your Korea Service Medal. Here's your Good Conduct Medal.
That's the
Army.
old Army Good Conduct.
Old Army. Here's your Pacific Theater Medal.
Wow.
Here's your World War II Victory Medal. Here's your another Vietnam service. This is Legion of Honor. I had another one. Oh, here. The Vietnam government awarded these to Americans. This is like Vietnam was a French province, so they had their equivalent of the Croix de Guerre. But that's like the Vietnamese Croix de Guerre that a lot of our guys won, as well as their soldiers too. These are my most valuable patches because these are squadron patches. This is the famous VF-17. They took the Corsair to the Pacific Theater. Tommy Blackburn's. These all are handmade. They're not issued, so the guys had to have these made, and they wore them on their leather fighter pilot drop. These are so rare, they're worth hundreds of dollars. Here's the headhunters that flew the P-38 Lightning in New Guinea, Army Air Force. This is what they were flying out of. Mechanics had to work on those complicated planes in the dirt, on the edge of the jungle, and kept them flying. Yeah, the headhunters were the leading squadron at this time in the Pacific. 203 Zeros shot down at that point. Yeah, and here's VF-12 carrier pilots that flew the Hellcat, the F-6F Hellcat.
Is that the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima?
That's a model. That's a model of a little boy. Yes.
Yes.
And it's signed. This is a limited prediction run. It's signed by Dusty Van Hout, Van Kirk, who was the navigator on the Enola Gay. They dropped it. This is the most valuable artifact in San Diego County. It's owned by Clay Perkins. He lives in Rancho Santa Fe. That's the 2 bomb plugs that were pulled out of Little Boy before it was dropped by the bombardier.
Wow.
He found out the bombardier was living in a trailer in Bakersfield, and he went up there and visited him. And the guy said, yeah, I just threw those in my sea bag, and the war was over in a couple of days, and we all got so drunk, I forgot I had them. So they came home with me in my stuff. And so Clay goes, well, what do you want for them? He goes, how about $2,000? And Clay goes, here's $25,000.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they're in Clay Perkins' collection.
Nice.
My uncle Dwayne Gilroy, he was the inspiration for me to honor veterans and start this museum. My Uncle D was in the 1st Army, 3rd Armored Division, 162nd Medical Battalion, 578th Ambulance Company. My Uncle D was an ambulance driver. He landed at Utah Beach about noon on June 6th, 1944 on D-Day. And he did the entire European campaign all the way to the end of the war in Germany. You'll notice this picture of my Uncle D. This picture is a freeze frame off of a movie produced by the United States Army right after the war called True Glory. This is a DVD copy of it. This basically told the whole story of the European campaign and the defeat of Nazi Germany. The frame that's off of is of the segment of this film that shows the liberation of the Nordhausen death camp. It was the Dora Mittenbau slave labor camp, and the 3rd Armored Division was the first one to liberate a slave labor camp in Germany. And my Uncle D, being an ambulance driver, he had to go in there every day for about 3 days and sort the living out from the dead. Here's a full frame picture of Uncle D that day, one of the days in the camp. And this is one of the Eastern European inmates, slaves, that they have. This is the medic that my Uncle D worked with. And here's my Uncle D in the background there, waiting to load patients in his Dodge ambulance. Notice the dismayed look on his face. They went through this for 3 days. Notice they both have brand new uniforms on with no insignia. When they left the camp every night, they would strip their uniforms off, throw them in the fire, and then go into a delousing tent, take a shower, and be issued a brand new uniform for the next day. This went on for 3 days while my Uncle D sorted the living out from the dead. it scarred him for life. My Aunt Lena May, his wife, used to tell me that Uncle D would wake up in the middle of the night in their home in Michigan and be screaming and fighting, punching, and she'd have to calm him down. So, yeah, he had post-traumatic stress disorder. They didn't even know what to call it back then, but they used to call it shell shock. My Uncle D only had to see the casualties of war. He didn't get to fight it. He did not have a weapon. He only had to go in there and pick up the pieces of the Americans that were affected by combat and was unable to fight the combat himself, although he was shelled and shot at and in every position of danger that a combat soldier was in. So, a brave man, and my late Uncle D was my inspiration for veterans recovery.
This brings back some hallowed, sacred times of a lot of people's lives that have committed themselves to freedom. And I see that you've collected all these artifacts, and I'm just extraordinarily honored to be here today to for you to share this information with me.
Well, I'm honored by your.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm honored by your service.
Thank you.
I was never a Marine. I got the privilege of working for the Marine Corps, base maintenance, building 2296 for 5 years, and that's where I fell in love with the Marine. The Marines treated us so good out there, and I started this collection basically in 1979 because I was out on base every day.
You have a lot of knowledge. I've been to a lot of museums before, but never one like this today. So, Mr. Harris, I want to thank you very much for your patriotism, how you've collected all these sacred items that have affected a lot of people's lives, and how you've kind of memorialized and preserved a lot of his history right here, serving those who preserve our freedom. So I'm giving this to you because you're preserving the history and the legacy of many service members that have given their ultimate sacrifice, and for those that have made it possible to have freedom today in the United States.
Thank you. I will cherish this, Joe. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, I'd like to thank Joe for coming to joining us today. I'd like to thank everybody in the audience, and I'd like you to make sure that you like, subscribe, and join us in future podcasts, because I think this will become your favorite podcast. And remember, you are the captain of your fate. You are the master of your soul.
It seems like the continuing theme for veterans who need to recover, and transition is cling to your faith. Cling to the higher power. Mine's the God of the Bible. Keep your faith. Do something productive in your life. My uncle from World War II had a great church community that supported him. He went to work for the Inland Limestone and Steel Company and made a very successful career becoming a lower management there, and always kept busy. So my message to veterans is find a purpose in life and cling to your faith in God.